Welcome to the Succeed with Software podcast, brought to you by SuiteDash. Today's episode is from one of the bi-weekly Q&A webinars. To participate live, just follow the link in the description to sign up and submit your questions. Be sure that you're subscribed on YouTube and following us on all social media to get the latest videos and updates about new and existing features. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, welcome everyone. This is Mike. I am the founder and CEO of SuiteDash. It's Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, and this is the SuiteDash Q&A webinar. Welcome. So let me get everyone started by jumping in the chat. I think I have enabled that. Let's see. All right, chat's enabled now. Please jump in and let me know where you're joining us from. That'll let me know that you can hear me and that we're ready to get going. I think a few people will be joining a little bit later, so let's see who we have. I think I see Don here. All right. Hey, Laura from Mexico. Hi, how are you? That's great. Thanks for joining us. And let me see if I can find some questions that you might have submitted, Laura, so we can look at that. Yeah, I do see some, so that's great. I see some other... Hi, Don. How are you? I don't see on the list here, but meaning I'm looking for any questions that you might have that are specific that you may have submitted, but I'm sure you'll make use of that chat and let me know. All right, and I see we're just joined by a few others. Anybody that's just joined us, just go ahead and just jump in the chat. Let me know where you're joining from, and that'll help me know that you can hear, that you know how to find the chat, that you are able to ask your questions, and then we'll just get started. Okay. So for those of you that are just getting started in SuiteDash, just a few things to point out. First of all, don't be afraid to start a free trial. We don't require a credit card. It's the best possible way for you to get into the platform and start to get your feet wet, start to understand the concepts, etc. The second best thing you can do is the help documentation here at help.suitedash.com. Don't be afraid to ask your question here. Or you can try out our artificial intelligence powered assistant here. We call Kevin AI. Kevin is our mascot, so you can ask Kevin. Sometimes he gets it right, sometimes he gets it wrong. He's still being trained. He's just a dog. If he's wrong, he's just a dog. If he's right, he's artificial intelligence. So just remember that. We're doing our best to kind of calibrate the answers that he's giving, but there's a lot of inference, there's a lot of small variances and things like that we'll need to have some time to create documentation that's clear enough that the AI picks it up and is able to answer the wide variety of questions that come in through that channel. And the questions then often are written in ways that are not so obvious what you might be asking. So terminology changes, things like that. So anyway, have some fun with it, but don't get too angry if it starts to say things that don't make sense. You can always reach out to the help team by emailing help@suitedash.com. Okay? And then our newest channel of assistance is in SuiteDash Academy. We call this Academy 2.0. You can get here from inside your account. A free trial is fine. After you're inside of your account, you can click here and just click Academy, or you can click either one of these buttons in the Get Started widget, and that will get you there. And this is built directly on top of our own LMS system toolkit. And you can see there are lessons after lessons after lessons. Most of them have videos that are some of them quite detailed, many of them quite detailed. So you can spend a lot of time here looking through and educating yourself right here from SuiteDash Academy. Okay? All right, so I see a few people here that I think we will start with the questions that were submitted when you started the webinar. Or I'm sorry, when you signed up for the webinar, so that'll be a good place to start. And then if we have some time at the end, or if you guys would prefer me start with just a review, a discussion about what is on track for our Fresh on Live release this week. So let's take a chat vote and see. Do we want to start with questions, or do we want to start with juicy inside information about releases coming this week? All right. Yep. Questions. Okay. Seems to be both. All right. Let's start with questions. Hi, Cheryl. How are you? I haven't seen you yet. Where are you joining us from, Cheryl? Now that you got your fingers on your keyboard. Wisconsin. Nice. Pretty place. I've been through there a couple times recently, through Madison and southern Wisconsin. I haven't been to northern Wisconsin ever, but I hear it's a pretty place. Okay. Let's go ahead and start with questions. I will put myself in position here. Whoops. Okay. Laura. I'm going to start with Laura here. And I hope I'm saying your name somewhat correctly, Laura. So Laura says that she's a legal startup. Laura, is that you? A legal startup with a focus on reporting to clients who want to protect their brands from any online infringements. Excellent. Okay. So let's do our best here. Laura says how to create a table of rows and columns that when the client logs into the portal, they can edit the content inside. For example, tasks and status updates. We don't have a mechanism like that, Laura. And I know where you're going. You maybe have had some experience in Notion is a good example of this, probably, that you're familiar with. Or there are some other, I think JotForm has a pretty cool little product that they use. And we are experimenting in this area. We do have some capabilities in development in this area, but I want to be clear that we don't have a table and row type of interface that will access the data that is inside a contacts profile. I think that's what you're asking for. If you'll just confirm that sounds very similar to what you're thinking about, Laura, so that they can log in and just fill in like a spreadsheet or something like that. Got it. Well, at least I understand the idea. I definitely understand the usability there. Something interactive for the project follows for them. Well, what you could do, Laura, is you could create. The fastest path to creating something that's functional in that way is what we call an update form. Okay, so once they enter the portal and in which you have them in your CRM, then you can use what we call an update form with them, and that's different than the other forms. We have a kickoff form, which can be used with unknown targets and known targets. But the update form is one where we already know the data. We already know who they are. Okay. So what that does for us is it allows us to use custom fields or default fields. And I'll just build one really quickly, just something really simple out of these custom fields. Okay. So imagine that we have these three fields in a form, and you can arrange these however you'd like. You can even insert like HTML content between the questions, so that maybe you would build something like a a question and then a paragraph of explanation text. Okay, in the next area, you need to submit this or that. But then what you would do is you could display this on a dashboard or a portal page. Probably a dashboard would be the best approach for you. And when they're routed to that dashboard, if there is data in the field, so you can elect to pre-fill value on all these if you want, or just the ones that you want, and it will show the existing data that's saved in the database for that particular client. So when they access a portal page, and I could spend about 5 to 10 minutes and I could set everything up and show you exactly what this would look like and how it would work, but I usually try to, when the concepts are pretty straightforward, I'm just going to try to explain it. When they land on the dashboard, each client that lands on the dashboard will see the form, and then if you have this option enabled, the platform will go into that client, that particular client or prospect's data, and say, okay, do they already have something saved here? Like, for example, maybe they filled it out in a kickoff form, or you filled it out your staff, and it will display the current value to them. Then they can change that value as long as you don't make it read-only. You could make it read-only, that way they could only see the value. But if you don't make it read-only, they would be able to change the value. So if you need them to see what their current information that you have on file for them, for example, and then allow them to change it. So that's similar to what you're saying. It's not in a table and row format. It would be in a different format, more like a standard form. So, which again, let me try to play a little defense here. A table and row format is not mobile friendly, and it cannot be mobile friendly. So there is no world. Well, there is a world, but there is no world where you can take a table that's 2,000 pixels wide and shove it into a mobile device screen. The way that most apps will get around that in a modern world and modern approach is they'll use a left-right scroll, a left-right swipe that would allow movement through that table. But again, still, it's a little bit clunky, moving around, swiping back and forth, trying to get the right data in the right place. The advantage of using a form to make it is mobile friendly. It's swiping up, it's swiping down like you would with TikTok or Instagram or something like that. So it's a natural movement, natural motion. They can see everything, fill out everything, and submit it very easily. So yes, I completely understand what you're after. That's I have something else I wanted to say in regard to this. Oh yeah, so you can embed a Google Sheet. I'm trying to remember if we have embed Google embeddable. I don't think we have an article on this, but if you look up how to embed a Google Sheet, just read the support here, and what you can do is you can set up a Google Sheet so that just one tab or something like that. Now, this is not the same thing. I'm not trying to pretend that it is, but we do have some clients who find that this is pretty useful to them, and they can embed a Google Sheet and make that work. I could take it even further and say that well, let me ask this first. Is that something that would be interesting to you? Because I can explain a little bit more about a way that you could uniquely, per client, iframe a Google Sheet per client, or a tab in a Google Sheet per client. So anyway, if that's something that you think you could follow and put together, then there is a way to do that. We have a URL custom field that you could use to accomplish that, and actually dynamically replace the source for an iframe with the value from that URL custom field. And based on which client logs in, the iframe will load the URL associated with that client for that custom field. So yeah, it's pretty cool that you could do that. And yes, any application or web page that has the capability to be embedded in a normal web page, you can embed in a Google Doc, a dashboard or a portal page. So yes, you can do. Hi Mitchell, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from, Mitchell? I think, of course, I recognize the name Memphis. Okay, right. I forgot that one. So Laura, you can do that, and you can embed any app. So if they give you an embed code, you just embed it directly on the portal page. Here I'm in a dashboard, so this will be a good place to start. So you could do it with a text block, and then access the HTML directly and paste your embed code right here. That's one way to do it. Probably the best way to do it in most cases. Or you can use an embed block is also usable. We do basically the same thing and make it very simple for you. Or you can use an iframe block if you're just trying to iframe in a URL or another website. Mitchell's the sport tickets guy. Okay, Mitchell, good. You'll be a happy guy in just a few weeks here. I think so. Does that make sense, Laura? The update form is the native solution for what you're trying to accomplish. And it has the added benefit of being able to present that in a way that you can control the messaging around it. So maybe like, a header above it, or, hey, welcome to this dashboard. You can do these things. You can review your information below and update as needed. So it's just a flexible way to accomplish that. Okay. All right, good. Thank you, Laura. Let me pop the chat up so everybody can see what I'm seeing, so I don't sound like I'm talking to nobody. Okay. Mitchell's here, so I see some questions from Mitchell. But let's start with. Let me go next to Cheryl. Let me find I know I saw some questions, Cheryl. Okay. All right, Cheryl. So I'm going to read your stuff out loud. That's okay? About what you submitted. Cross-functional CFs. Ooh. Okay. All right, Cheryl. Let's get back to that. Mitchell's trying to. Okay. Yes, I'm going to come back, Mitchell. You can. And hi, Masai. I hope I'm trying to say that right. I see your questions as well. So good that you're here. Let's do that. Let's start with Cheryl. Cheryl says, I'm a podcaster. That's awesome. Who would like to use the product for two purposes: onboarding guests for the show. Yes. Collecting needed info from them. Perfect. And a workflow for processing the show. I'm imagining you're thinking from the project management side. I would also like to create a newsletter and collect registrants interested in the newsletter. Okay. Yeah, 100%. How best to write a proposal for someone to assist with creating my forms and workflows in the most clear, communication efficient process. You mean, I think, Cheryl, you mean that you would like to hire somebody to help you, and you're looking for, you're writing the job description essentially for helping you. Do I read that right? In general, but let's do our best to help you turn on a few light bulbs. Yeah, let's say we'll try to turn on the light bulbs. We'll try to teach you how to fish, but I think we can in for the most part. But again, you probably have a lot of preferences. You have some steps that you go by, and you might need somebody to help you. So let's first try to handle as much as we can here, and then I'll have some suggestions about how you can move forward with services and solutions that we provide, and then have some advice for you out in the wide world, in the real world. Okay, so onboarding guests for the show. That one's pretty simple. I would start definitely with a kickoff form. So start thinking in terms of a kickoff form. So what you can do is, if you're meeting somebody for the first time, let's start from a what we call an unknown target. Okay. I have some podcast examples here and there that were used before and used as, but I don't see it right now. So let's start with a kickoff form like this, for example. And what this does, this can turn what we call an unknown target, Cheryl, into a known target, which means when they complete this form, first name, last name, email address, and then of course any other questions you want to ask in the form of custom fields, we're going to insert all that data into the CRM, and then we're going to take whatever actions, make whatever assignments you specify here for that particular person. Okay? So if we've never seen the email address before, we call that an unknown target, which you'll see here referenced unknown targets. If we have seen the email address before and they land on this form, then we're going to take actions that you specify for known targets. And that's the difference. Okay? So we'll start with a form. I'm not going to spend much time here, but basically we need these three are required. And then you can, if you're working with them as just a contact or as a company, there's some how you can join the reseller program, Messiah. Okay, I'll get to that in just a second. I promise. So the form here, you want to build these. These are custom fields, and they act as the questions that you're asking these podcasters during your onboarding. Their answers are saved as the value of these custom fields, and then they can be regurgitated later, printed on dashboards, portal pages, emails, anywhere, contracts, all those things. So once the data goes in, we can use it all around the platform in using what we call dynamic data placeholders. Okay. But this is the more important part for you to understand, is that you'll want to choose what kind of role you want to bring them in as. I know they're not your client, but the client role gives you the most capability of assigning them invoices, assigning them to projects and things like this. These are really designed for an onboarding funnel type of situation, sales funnel, sales cycle, a lead, very, very early contact prospect. We know a few things about them, but not that much, and we just want to move them up to a next level. And then client is, okay, we're doing business with these folks now. Set a coordinator, this kind of thing. But you probably want to also add them into a circle for podcast guests, I would think would be the way you'd want to do that. That way you can route them and design their experience uniquely as that type of user in your platform. So as a podcast, when you create that podcast guest circle, and let's just put in festival vendor as a placeholder for that, we're going to assign them into that circle, and then later we can use that to design their menu, to assign a unique dashboard that they would see only because they're in that circle and no one else gets to see it. You would be able to adjust the contracts, adjust documents, all show them specific files, give them access to specific shared folders, etc., based on their affiliation with this circle. So what this means is we're going to assign them to this circle. When anyone that submits this form is going to be assigned to this circle if they're an unknown target. Okay. And then down here, you see all these assignments. Look at all this stuff. This is more than 5 minutes to explain, but essentially this lets you, every target that completes this form, you're going to apply these automations, apply these assignments to them on the fly. And so therefore you're designing a process, a system that will replicate itself each time this form is completed, and replicate itself directly to and about that target, the person on the other end of the form that fills it out and clicks submit. Okay, so your podcast guest is a perfect example, and we'll just work around that. So this is where I would start, and then the best way to handle from here is to decide what your process is like. Do you have for example, a contract they need to sign, or are you just submitting data, and then you need to get, I imagine you need to get artwork or headshots or some other kind of media from them. So you'd want to design some so release form. You'd want to show them the release form, have them sign it. Make that part of your process. They need those file uploads. They can submit. Typically, what I would recommend in this workflow is, let's just get them in the system. Either you can do it manually and then move them on to the next step. So you would design a let's just kind of do a live thing here. I think this is helpful to a lot of people. Let's create a new. All right, so we're going to do a kickoff form. Purple kickoff form, I guess. And we're going to collect their first name, last name, and email address. Then we're going to take them to, they're going to receive an email. They're going to confirm by clicking a link, and they're going to set their password and enter the portal. From here, you're going to take them to a dashboard. I'll show you that in just a second. This dashboard is only for podcast guests. We can even specify that by saying anybody that's in the podcast guest circle is going to land on this dashboard. And on this dashboard, you can put an update form that will collect all that bio information. So you'll say, okay, please submit this bio information. You can have a button there. You could also start the document signing process from the kickoff form. So you can really kick everything off, all the things that you need from here. You can collect extra information here. I would typically keep this to a first name, last name, and email address just to reduce the friction. Once they're in here, you can ask them more questions. They're inside your safe space now. You can ask them questions and get more information. This is where inside the portal is where they would sign their release, upload their pics. You can design all of that and have all that happen, and everything will be delivered directly into their CRM dashboard. Here's the dashboard. Let's say if you were designing a dashboard, you would work in an interface just like this. But the important part to see is not this one, but oh, sorry, this is the fallback. That's why I wasn't finding what I was looking for. Let's just say oh, here we go. This is not perfect for what you're after, but it's related to podcasts. Let's just say you're making a podcast dashboard. What you want to do is, if you'll see how we allow for assignments of the dashboard, you can assign directly to an individual if you need to do that. We typically would not recommend that. What you would want to do is assign it to that circle that we made. Remember, we said this is going to be our proxy for that. And imagine this says podcast guest. And what this means is, you didn't set anything here, so we don't need that. But when someone logs in, it's just like Facebook. When someone logs into your portal, Facebook, works just like Facebook. Facebook knows who you are, what groups you belong to, everything about you. So when we see anyone who logs in that is a part of this circle, we're going to redirect them immediately to this dashboard. So this is your starting spot. You can use this dashboard now to present text, you can use buttons and all sorts of ways to route them from one place to another. You can create a small little network of pages that works for you. You can customize the menu based on that circle, so you can go to custom menus at any time. And I think I hit stop here. And notice how you can show or hide from your clients. You can say, oh, you know what, I don't want to show it to any clients. I only want to show this menu item to a circle, right? And using this same approach, you can limit the menu that they see only to the menu items that you specify for that circle. So people in that circle will only see 2 menu items or 3 menu items, whatever you decide, based on how you'd like to set it up. So you can create a very bespoke portal experience around just that one type of client. And at the same time, you can create a completely different, bespoke, unique experience around a different type of client. Okay. So I think, without stepping through and doing everything with you and along with you, which I know you don't expect, I'm trying to just turn on some light bulbs so you understand, okay, circle, got it. Dashboard, got it. Menu, yes, I know I can do that. Kickoff form, that's kind of the beginning of where I need to say, okay, this is the information. Kickoff to update form is one strategy that is used quite a lot. Here's a kind of a sketch of what it looks like to route different clients into different workflows and portal experiences based on the circle. So in your case, if they had the podcast guest circle, they might go to a contract, and then this is not for you, but you understand what I mean. You can customize the workflow and the experience based on the circle that's assigned during the kickoff form or at any point. I think we had, kickoff form, confirm email, enter portal, update form. On the dashboard would be a good way to deliver that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Workflow for processing the show, that's kind of up to you. I don't have enough information to really answer that. I think you would be using project management there, and you could templatize that entire system by using what we call project generators, which that would be the project generator would be the starting point where you would really try to get everything. Imagine this is podcast guest, first name, last name, these are placeholders. This project generator is not actually a project, it's a framework for creating a project via an automation. So you would make your changes here and set everything up so that when you triggered this project generator in a workflow, the only thing you feed to it is, okay, here's the contact, their first name, and we have first name, last name, and all the custom field data that they submitted in the forms, and then you say, okay, trigger project generator podcast guest or podcast episode, and it uses all of these values to fulfill your wishes in a replicatable way, right? So you do the work here one time and you design this as, okay, this is how it's going to work. And then every time you have the workflow, you're going through that workflow, when this generator gets triggered, it's going to create a project in your projects list, in all of the assignments that are in the task list will be all the tasks will be generated, the assignments will be made, everything will just happen over and over again for you in a replicatable way. Okay, so configuring all that will take some time to adapt it to your system in the way that you would like to work, yes, but you'll be saving enormous amounts of time as you move forward, instead of like creating a new project or, God forbid, replicating an existing project and then trying to figure out if you have removed all the information from the previous guest, and there's a lot of. Our system avoids all of that. It gives you a generic way to replicate projects and insert all the data from the target, who is your next podcast guest, dynamically into all these elements, so that they are templatized, yes, but dynamically customized on the fly, yes, as well. And that is the magic, right? So project generators, task templates, these are concepts that you'll want to understand. This is how you'll get there. All right. And then you want to create a newsletter. That's easy enough. You're going to go to marketing, and you'll want to create an audience. Except here's what's cool, right? When you go to create your circle, let's do it together, for podcast guests, you're going to get an option. Podcast guests. You don't have any users yet, but you can. Oh, look here. You can create and sync an associated marketing audience right away, so that when you create this circle, it's also going to create an audience for marketing for your newsletter, and add them to it, and it's going to constantly keep those in sync. So if you remove a guest for whatever reason, they'll also be removed from that marketing list, that marketing audience. So this is very helpful in the sense that you don't have to create a podcast guest circle and then go create a podcast guest audience, so that you can use the campaign tools and those mechanisms to send out campaigns. And this is what you say newsletter, we call a campaign, which is essentially just a mass sending of an email campaign to an audience, which is defined by the members of an audience, just like a list essentially, but we call them audiences. Okay, now let's get to let me move on. I'm going to move on to the next person, but before we do that, make sure that you're aware of our agency partners. These are validated and very, very savvy users of SuiteDash, or manipulators of SuiteDash, configurators, if that's a word, of SuiteDash. And there's a big list of them here. So examine this, take a look, see what you think. Also understand about the SuiteDash Wizards program. And if we offer free sessions for those who upgrade as a member to Thrive or Pinnacle. And then we also offer paid sessions this is really at cost. We do our very best. This is an hour session for $50. And this is, you're interfacing with, again, a very, very savvy user and deployer of SuiteDash. So they would be the prime people to assess, understand your needs, and then provide you with. Now the wizarding sessions is only for advice, so it's kind of like a teaching you how to fish kind of thing, and then you go take care of that. The agency partner approach is, yes, you are paying them to work inside your account, and they will help you execute your vision. Okay. And then if you're going outside of these pathways, or even inside of these pathways, just be cautious. I would recommend like agreeing to small amounts of work in small chunks instead of signing large contracts for large amounts of money, and then hoping for the best. I would just say, hey, let me pay 5 hours at a time. I'll pay 5 hours at a time, and then you go work 5 hours and give me an idea, give me some results, and that way you get a good feel for, when I pay for 5 hours, I get some definable or acceptable amount of progress. It makes sense to me. I'm ready to go for another 5 hours. Just in general in business, I would approach it like that. You're asking about the Sensei Kickstart? Yes, let me, it's on the pricing page. So, it is here, yes, okay. So what this basically gives you is a very basic start on a workflow, a predefined start. So as you're onboarding, you're going to choose, it gives you 3 or 4 examples, and you're going to choose the one that most closely matches your use case. The Sensei will then build that for you and then schedule that one-on-one session where they will show you how that was all done, how it is all connected, and that is intended to be like a next level of a wizard session where you get some white label branding all done, a sample workflow. So you're kind of starting with something like a nascent build that you can then take and expand in the directions, because of course the Sensei is not going to know exactly how everything needs to be set up, but they'll help you and get you started and get you past some of the early steps. And then if you would like to continue with that person, also it's a good way to build an early relationship with a Sensei agency partner. And there's also a special rate that's an hourly rate for work beyond that is applied that you can take advantage of. So it will save you some money in the long term as well. This one was a tough one to kind of offer, because of course you offer this flat price, and it can be, it can get out of control unless you find a way to put a framework around it. And we always want to have win-wins for you, win-wins for the people who are working with you and for you. So we have to protect them as well. So we do our best to put a framework around this that is quite helpful. Gets you in a one-on-one relationship with someone who's giving you advice and getting you down the road, but also protects them in the sense of, it's not in their mandate to build everything that you want for $299. So I think you wouldn't expect anything different than that. But yes, so this one is exactly as I described. Okay. All right, let's jump. Cheryl, if you have other questions, put them in there, and if I have time, I will get to them. Thank you very much. Let's quickly I have a quick question I can answer for Masai. And again, I hope I'm saying that right. Look here at Reseller Program, please. You just go to our website and navigate to Reseller Program, read through, and then you'll click for more info. And here's a good example of a kickoff form, okay? So what you're seeing here is a SuiteDash kickoff form, customized. It goes right into a SuiteDash workflow that we built. And in fact, this entire workflow is described in a video on our YouTube channel. I'll try to point it out if I have time at the end. So this is SuiteDash using SuiteDash to onboard SuiteDash resellers. And this video is a good explanation for you, Messiah, about the reseller program. And but yes, you would need to start here. This starts your application process. It's not, and that all is described in this video. So I would encourage you just to press play and take in this information. That would be the best possible way to get educated on the reseller program. Okay. All right, let's move to Mitchell. Okay, Mitchell, this is your only question so far. No. Okay, let's do it. Trying to build a process for displaying and tracking sales commissions using staff level calculating custom fields. Good for you, Mitchell. I don't know that you'll be successful, but yes, this is something that I've actually doing some thinking about as well, because we do get this request fairly often, and until we're able to build a dedicated affiliate style toolkit to accomplish this, I do believe we're pretty close to making this work. So maybe we can figure it out here together. Let's see how you're starting. Build a process for displaying and tracking sales commission using staff level calculating custom fields. However, staff custom fields and company do not work together. That's true. If that functionality was enabled, a lot of us who have been looking to have salesperson commission tracking would have at least a basic process for calculating commissions due to be paid. Yeah, I understand what you mean. So let's bring in the rest of our group here into what our conversation. So what Mitchell's saying is he wants to use a calculating custom field, which is a newer concept in SuiteDash. Thank you, Caitlin. Caitlin has posted okay, good, you saw that. Caitlin posted the reseller process video from YouTube. So a calculating custom field works just like it explains here, everyone, that you can take these placeholders, which are offered to you in the list of custom fields. So yes, you'll need like a scratch pad, a notepad or something, and you want to get, when you want to create an equation, you're going to go and find the placeholder for custom field 1, custom field 2, and then you're going to be able to write an equation very similar to how you would do it in Excel, but not with the equals to start with. Okay, so you just put an equation here, and then this calculating custom fields job is to process that equation, and then it takes the value of the equation and writes it into the database as the value of this calculating custom field, and then you can return that value using a placeholder anywhere in a portal page or a dashboard. And very recently, it wasn't something that we announced or haven't announced yet, but additionally you can use them now, Mitchell, as the value for a chart block. So here you can say, all right, I want to use this as the custom field. Think that calculating would be here. I thought so. Let me double check that. That might not be released yet, but it's really close. So that you would be able to actually use, maybe it's just in the progress, I'm not sure. But you'd be able to use, instead of just number type, calculating custom field as well, so that you could make complex calculations and then return that value as a chart. All right, let's get back. So what Mitchell is trying to do, well, he's just let us know. So Mitchell says on-demand invoice generator sets number type company custom field to 100. Yes, so that's the value of the sale, we'll say. And staff commission equals staff number type 25%, staff calculating custom field. Yep. And that staff member would be the salesperson. So you have your direct association there, Mitchell. That way that's how we can pinpoint the salesperson. Yep. That can work. Just on my initial assessment. Not now, but if we intentionally coded that as a process and made sure that that was possible, I don't see damage there. I don't see problems. Only just enabling from our side to, and that's really the only roadblock that I can see right now. Okay. All right. Let's go into my notes. Hang on one second. This would allow us to display salesperson commissions if we could have staff level. Staff level. So company and contact would be needed in case depending on how you approach your CRM and how you approach your business. I get that. Okay. Okay. And this really seems like a usable although slightly limited in the sense that we're only dealing with salesperson role. It has to be that way, or the other option would be coordinator, but it's an early workaround style of an affiliate program, essentially. So the salespeople will you would track the amount. They wouldn't actually get paid or any kind of way through us, but you guys would have a record that you could then manipulate. Yeah, just for tracking. Right. Makes sense. Okay, let me see what we can do. This is great. That's a great suggestion. You carried the ball a long way there for us. And you actually just kind of put it on silver platter there. Good job. That's one of the things I love about SuiteDash and these webinars, and SuiteDash in general, is that this is not a niche specific tool. And what it means is, if it was niche specific, say to accounting or to attorneys or to whatever, then you just build down obvious paths. The problem with that is, as we go into the future, that all those niches will become commoditized, which means there will be, today, say there's 10 software products in that niche trying to elbow everybody around and elbow their way in. But imagine in 2 years there will be 20, as software becomes more accessible to developers and developer teams from all around the world and countries all around the world. And then in 3 years there will be 40. And guess what? When there's 40 competitors in a niche, what happens? They beat each other to death on price, essentially. So it becomes what's called commoditized, which it's just so readily available that the only way that they can do is, it's called a race to the bottom. The only way they can compete is try to beat each other to death, and that's what happens. Everybody is living off scraps. So that's why we've always resisted, even though it would have been easy to diverge into a niche. So and what that means is that all of our tools are built in a generic, super flexible, super powerful way that becomes somewhat hard to predict how you might use it. To be honest, I mean, yeah, some is easier to predict, but there are definitely times when I have been surprised and somewhat pleased to say, "Oh wow, okay, got it." So yes, and then I'm tempted to say, "Of course, that's exactly how we designed it and built it, and I'll take all the credit now." But that's not true. A lot of times, I have to be honest. Sometimes you guys figure you really smart ones, and all you're really smart the way you're using it in your own niches, and you have ways and trying to solve certain challenges, come up with some pretty cool ideas. So yeah, and we're right on board to help you get past that if we can, and if we have the bandwidth to do so. So yeah, great job, Mitchell. Okay, let me see if we can move towards anyone else who is here with questions, and any questions that I can answer. Now, Mitchell has some questions, so let me just run through those real quick. Mitchell says, "I tell everyone that I'm not the cheapest in town, but I'm the most worth the money, just like SuiteDash, and it's certainly affordable." Well, I appreciate that, Mitchell, and that's definitely the truth. When you are experienced in a business, it's important that you tell your prospective clients, you will be able to find someone to do this for you cheaper, but you might end up back here. For me, and I will clean up that mess. We clean up these messes quite a bit. So usually that's the case. Yeah, usually the more experienced people end up cleaning up the messes that were made by someone less experienced. Then the person has to pay twice, right? They pay that inexpensive amount that ends up being basically set on fire, and then they pay the amount that you wanted from the beginning to have you fix it, or more, because sometimes the mess is bad and it has expedited needs, right? So Mitchell says, what is the projection for adding a payment block to portal pages and forms in SuiteDash? I can only answer that by saying it is probably the #1 priority that we have in development right now. So outside of, completing and continuing things that are in active development and we're already planned and underway, we are moving really quickly, as fast as possible, to create what we call the shopping block, which will allow choices, payment block, which will allow on-page payments, real-time right there, don't leave, don't go anywhere, get confirmation, and those will work together on a public page to give you full capability for what is colloquially known as a landing page. So a full-on landing page with choices to affect the total amount to be charged today, and after the choices are made, the checkout performed by the payment block, and then they will enter your portal based on the configuration that you have made relative to known, unknown, staff member, etc. So even staff members would be able to go through this workflow as designed. Masai says, can I create a website from SuiteDash? Well, Masai, public pages are on the verge of being released. It would be 2 or 3 weeks, maybe still. And each public page will have what we call a friendly URL, which means fastest way for me to show you something like that would be from, let's just go to forms. Well, no, here we go. So here, this is a kickoff form, and you can set the friendly URL. That's what this is called. So this is a subdomain and a friendly URL together. A public page will also have a domain just like this, a subdomain and a friendly URL. You can make multiple public pages, and you could link them together. And when you have multiple pages publicly available and linked together via some sort of navigation, I think most people will call that a website. So that would be the first step towards that kind of functionality. Second, and then we have other steps planned into the future. So I don't want you to, and the last thing we would want is for someone to say, oh, SuiteDash is just a website builder. That's definitely not the case. But what I will say is that we are an operating system for your business, a business process management software, an all-in-one business software that can also, in the near-term future, provide you with a functional website on top of that framework. So soon, the answer is yes. Is SuiteDash.com created by the platform? No. SuiteDash.com is hosted on it's a WordPress website. Yeah, and that's just that we've had the same WordPress framework for many, many years. We've been doing this for a long time, so it works for us. We know it inside and out. It's just not worth trying to build on top of something else. Although, if you've heard of Statamic, is a new website builder that's very, very interesting and cool. For those of you that haven't heard of it, I would encourage you to go look at what's called Statamic. Interesting, very interesting website builder. Very outside the box. So you might, if you're a technical person, you should know about this. It's pretty cool. Let's go to more questions. Yes, I saw this question, Mitchell. Can we turn back on the ability to affect staff level custom fields via automation? In some cases we can, Mitchell, but in other cases we're not going to be able to do that because in an automation, we don't know the stat. Well, depending on the automation. In our standard automation paths, we only know the target, which will always be a CRM target in most cases. Now we have moved very quickly in the destination of forms and flows being assignable to staff members, and also LMS courses and course products assignable to staff members. And in those places, we can enable that because the target will be a staff member, and we will know that, and we'll be able to put the data in the right place and change the data for the appropriate person. But I think maybe based on your other, yes, okay, that's where I was going. So maybe based on your other line of questioning, you would, we could change the salesperson's data. I'm thinking just in line now. So already, if you go to a dashboard or anywhere that you can access placeholders, and in contracts as well, you would be able to, I don't know if you've seen this, you can use the placeholders to access salesperson data, okay? And what this is looking at, it's going to look at the contact, and I think you know already, but I'm just explaining it really quickly. It's going to look at the contact who is the target. It's going to look at the target and say, when it loads this page, it's going to say, okay, target is person X. And then it's going to say, okay, who is the salesperson for person X? And then it can return these data points from that salesperson. And these people are on the staff side. What you also see is that every time you make a custom field on the staff side, Mitchell, those will be displayed here as well. I don't have many custom fields on the staff side in this account. But if there was 100, you would see 100 placeholders. So you could return any kind of data from the staff side via the bridge of this the salesperson connection or the coordinator connection. So that's not far away from what you're asking for or you're referring to, which is in an automation, being able to, let's go there so we can close the loop of logic for everyone, being able to change the value of a custom field, which you can do as an automation, changing the value not of a CRM contact, not of a company, but of a salesperson in your case. So let's just say this was it. We wanted to change, this is it, not a number field, but you get the idea. So if we saw down here we had a salesperson separator and a coordinator separator, we could do that. We could list all the staff custom fields associated and have a salesperson, and then it would do exactly the same thing as it does in the placeholders. It would find the salesperson related to the target and change the value of the custom field for that salesperson. Right, Mitchell? Seems to make sense to me. Yeah. So there we found another cool use case. It's not very difficult to implement. It's not very far from where we are. Those are the kind of things that we like to color in the blanks, right? Salesperson. Let me make a note. Coordinator. Change value of custom field. Cool. Yeah, this kind of stuff's really cool because then you can make really interesting constructions with this. Yeah. Okay, nice. Masai, it doesn't cost you anything to join the reseller program, the standard reseller program. Yeah. That's just watch that video. Watch the video here and it explains that. Explains it's no cost, okay? Mitchell says, one other question. Now I recall the last time I'd asked about support tickets, you mentioned Dim. Yeah. Still thinking about recording that. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. Let's see what we can do here. We're a little over time here, so I don't know that I have time to give a full demo. 1 second. Yep. During the last, so on dev, I can't do it today either. So active development sometimes means breaking dev environment. It will be broken in a way that until the next deployment happens, it's not actively available for testing or demo on dev. So that's the case right now. I just checked it. So I can't do that yet. There's 1 or 2 other small little pieces that I was waiting for to record a quick demo video. But yes, you can be assured it's there, it's working, and I like it. I think it's very functional, and it's coming from someone that has, I have experimented and worked with half dozen support ticket platforms. The top ones that most people have experience with: Zendesk, Freshdesk, Help Scout, the other self-installed ones, a few others. So there's things that I like about some of them, hate about some of them, that kind of thing. So we try to move in the direction of the most basic and usable as support ticket framework that you can get, and then set the stage for later iterations, which would allow for automation, auto routing, just multi-product, adding of a knowledge base, canned response, even in the future, chat GPT, AI style, automatic answering, not answering, but drafting an answer for you in advance based on training on a knowledge base. So in the future, there's a lot of places we can go with support tickets, but in general, I think the majority of our customer base is looking for, a basic support ticket system that doesn't cost a fortune. And a lot of the ones out there, they really do. You'll save a lot of money with our support ticket system because of it's not a per seat license. And if you have 5-6 people that need to answer and have access to a ticket system, it's certainly going to run you a few $1,000s, or at least $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a year to maintain that. And that's where things become very difficult for a small, medium business. And that's that's our goal, is to provide this platform as an all-in-one solution for small, medium businesses, so they don't throw thousands and thousands of dollars out the window every year on that kind of thing. Isaac was telling you about the chat GPT iteration he started using. Yeah, it is really cool. And that's same concept with Kevin AI. I think I spoke to Isaac about that as well. So yeah, and there's no doubt that in certain use cases, that kind of predictive language model will be very, very useful. For sure. Obviously, it's a game changer. I'm not sure how much it affects like a normal business, a small, medium business now. And it's kind of a parlor trick in a lot of cases, and people are trying to find ways to really, really save them time and all these things. But in the end, I think it's not quite there yet for your standard small, medium business. Support tickets is one of the most useful ways that I could see it being obviously helpful, and in a chat, like a AI powered chatbot that can answer questions based on a training corpus of information that it's working from. So that's a no-brainer to have something on your website that can answer questions about your business in real time, 24/7, without you having to pay a highly trained person to constantly be there and servicing that chat. So yep, that will be a cool next phase for support tickets. Okay, everyone, I think we are a little past time. I think the questions are not flying in at this moment. So here's one more from Masai. Let's see. I own a white label to create a logo design. Can I include embedded in SuiteDash? Not quite exactly sure what that means, but I can show you and see if we're start to get on the same page. Platform branding is where you can upload your logos and have them replace all what you're seeing here and what you're seeing here. These are white labeled. This is a white labeled account that you can adjust every piece and part of. And when done properly, when you've used all the options, including the custom URL, there's no way to tell that SuiteDash is what's powering this. So even in the source code, there's no mention of SuiteDash. So we do our very best to give you a tool that you can use to provide value to your end users, your end clients, especially if you're an agency. So if you're selling a website, that's just the beginning. You can now say, as a reseller or as someone who just has extra accounts or something like that you're trying to pass on, you can say, not only can I create a website for you, but we'll create an entire white labeled client portal and set of business tools, project management, marketing, file sharing, private messaging, CRM that you can use within your organization to organize your internal team as well. Okay, Lara, thank you, and good to see you, and hope to see you again. Okay, but I hope that answers your question, so I'll do my best. If you're welcome to come back, yeah, you're welcome to come back as many times as you need to get your questions answered and clarified. Okay, sir or ma'am? Can't tell. It's okay. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you for stopping by. Maybe we'll see you next week and Thursday or anytime Tuesday, Thursday for the SuiteDash Q&A webinar. Thanks again. See you.